Well, first and foremost, Savannah, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I guess to start off, I've noticed on your page you said that you also do like YouTube. So your podcast, you do some podcasting yourself. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a podcast host myself. So I host a podcast on iTunes and Spotify. It's called Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I've done it for a little bit over a year. It's just like a fun thing. It started
Mhm.
off as I wanted an audio diary to look back on as my evolution throughout my competing journey. And I just wanted to help. I made some mistakes along my way and I wanted to give advice. So as I was going through my life and like what's going on each week, I just wanted to kind of record episodes for other amateur competitors to listen to and have fun. And that's where that started. And I also kind of started a YouTube channel too to document some of my prepping. So I started to do some prep vlogging. All of that kind of happened during the pandemic of like 2020 when I was looking for stuff to do.
That's kind of how I like everybody started off, like a lot of new like endeavors during the pandemic because people started realizing, oh, it's just I have so much time and things have kind of changed, and they just wanted to do something different. So I've noticed that the pandemic kind of moved people to do a lot of things. The other thing that I've noticed the pandemic did was actually get people to move themselves. I see people running and working out a lot more. Have you noticed that?
You get both. Like there's people that use the pandemic as an excuse to be lazy, and I gained so much during the pandemic because I couldn't get to the gym, and you know how it goes. I was so stressed. And then there's others like myself, so I ended up actually like doing my competition prep throughout that entire time.
Oh,
So I
wow.
still did at home workouts and found a gym to work out in, and still prepped and dieted that whole time. But I do notice like a lot more people might be more health conscious just because you know, you have, I just see it. I just see like it's something else to do when you guys couldn't go out to the bars and stuff. People needed something to do. So they might have started, exercising at home or whatever they might have started as well.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. People do definitely have short-term memories, right? Like as soon as like things start going
Yeah.
back to normal, they kind
Yeah.
of lose that fire that they got during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said that you kind of did the whole podcast, YouTube thing, just kind of record yourself as you're going through prep and everything. How was the prep during the pandemic? I know you said that you worked out at home a lot. Did you make improvements? Did you notice that, like what some people were saying was they didn't necessarily make many improvements, but they were able to at least keep what they had. How was your experience of that?
It was actually not that bad. So I only spent 4 weeks out of the gym. So
Mhm.
March is when I started my prep January 1st of 2020. I started working with Team Elite Physique for the first time. So I switched coaches and we started prepping. So at the beginning of the year in January, we were going to prep for a summer show to do my first national show since I had been qualified and I haven't stepped on that stage yet. So we were targeting USA's in July before everything started to get shut down. So we were making a lot of improvements going until March. And then that's when we kind of, everything starts to get crazy. The shutdowns happened. My gyms closed. But pretty much we didn't know exactly what was going to happen. We just thought it was going to push my show back a couple of months. So my show got canceled in like February or March. They
Oh,
pushed it
wow.
back to December. They
Mhm.
just said, it's not canceled, but it's rescheduled for December. And I'm like, I don't want to wait that long. So we found North Americans to prep for in September that was still on the books to like be a show. So I
Mhm.
pushed my prep back, but I didn't quit prepping. I didn't go into an off season. I still continued to like diet throughout that time. I spent 4 weeks of March and like halfway through April out of the gym doing at home workouts.
Mhm.
And luckily my parents have like dumbbells 5 through 30 pounds. And then they
Mhm.
had a couple of like 45-pound plates. So I would just go to their house and work out for like an hour. And I had to do indoor hit cardio. I had to walk outside for my cardio. I had to do super, super modified, like heavy or high reps, low weight, because I didn't have access to like heavy weight. But then I actually found an underground bodybuilding gym that was illegally opened in my hometown, because it was kind of like word of mouth. And I'm like, I was like, I know there's someone out there that has a gym. So I kind of like reached out and was like, okay, what's open? Like, what can I sneak into? And it was kind of like a Fight Club situation of like, no documenting, no pictures, no cameras, nothing. It's like, you can only be here if you know someone, like nothing at all. Like if you're found on your phone or anything, like you're out, like you can't, they weren't going to risk it. So then I started working out that gym for the rest of the time, which really helped me personally, because I was able to like not miss any gains during that time.
Yeah, that's, that's kind of interesting, because it's like having a gym open during the time, it was equivalent, or at least it felt like you were doing something like extremely like horrible and illegal.
Right.
And it was really silly. It like reminded me of like maybe like during the times of like moonshine or stuff like that.
Right. Like
Like
it was like a speak easily.
Right. So it was just, it's crazy. I was talking to Nicole Zenobia. She took, I believe, fifth in the Olympia in figure this last Olympia, and she lives in New York, and it was the same thing. It was like a lot of just few underground gyms, no talking about it, just go and train and leave. It was something for sure, but now, I mean, things seem to be going back to the other direction. So there's gyms, pretty open everywhere, especially in the US for sure. Like places in Australia and other places are still tight, and stuff.
Bad.
Yeah. So you said that some of the things that you encountered were like some mistakes and stuff during prep that you were documenting. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you as like you were like, oh man, I really shouldn't have done that, or this is like what girls need to like watch out for, or competitors in general? Maybe it's not just women.
Yeah, I mean, how long do you have? I mean, if you guys, so if you're listening to this, you can head over to my podcast, because I have like 80 episodes of all of my mistakes ever. And I'm very open about like when I do make mistakes, because that's how I've learned the best, is like when I've made mistakes, specifically during the time when I was prepping, kind of like an all or nothing mindset. So going into it and like just thinking I have to be 150% on plan during the prep time. And it was like a switch of like, you turn it on for when you're technically in a contest prep. And then once you're done with your show, it like you go back to eating normal. Or it was like, it's supposed to be, in my mind, I thought it was different of like, not necessarily a binge fest, but kind of treating myself to so much food. I just didn't understand at the beginning of my journey how sensitive your body is like post show. So where I've significantly made mistakes is post show rebounds. So instead of just like having either one treat meal after your show and then getting right back to your diet that you had been on, I would kind of just give myself a break. Like even if it was only a couple of days, those days were enough to send my body weight skyrocketing. It just really hurt my metabolism. I would be stage lean, and then the next week I would check in 7 or 8 pounds up. And it's not like I was eating significantly bad. It was, I had a few treats, a few here, but just, I was so sensitive at that time. I didn't understand how fast and quickly you would put on body fat and how it would affect your future preps going forward. I just wish I would have had someone like to really like shake me down and like hold me accountable post show, instead of, I was like, oh, I earned this, which it's not really the case. And so I think a lot of new competitors, I had never had a successful reverse diet. And so that's something that my coach Adam, has really tried to instill in me. He's like, you can't keep doing this if you want to progress, because you're taking, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And every time, if you're just, putting on so much body fat, it's like a waste of your entire prep.
So it seems like maybe your body was so sensitive after the show that like anything you put in, it just,
it was, I was so
it.
Exactly. Like you're so depleted, you're a calorie sponge at that point. So it just stuck. It just, unfortunately, you can't really, like, it's not like it's a ton of calories because
Mm-hmm.
you're so used to eating so little that even a small calorie surplus, it's like your body just wants to have it because it's been starving for so long.
Right. So would you say like majority of it was water? Did you just, or was that like the initial influx was just what retaining water and then body fat came after that?
I think it's both. Like,
Both.
I think it was both. I mean, digestion at that point was not good. And so it was a combination of water. So my first show of 2020 was in September, and we still wanted to hit another show. So I competed again in December. So I technically prepped that whole year, which looking back, I wish I would have cut it short.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if after North Americans, I wish I would have just went into my off season then, rather than try to continue to diet for a whole entire year rather than like half of the year. It was really hard mentally. And it just, like, your mind and body need a break, like eat like a small break. It's just, I wasn't able to hit good conditioning after North Americans, like going into USA's, that conditioning, we tried something different, but I was only a few pounds heavier. We were going for a different look. Like, as far as North Americans, we tried to bring in a very hard, lean look to see how the judges would respond to it. And they still said, I need to work on my glutes. I need to work on my conditioning and bring up my upper body too. So we tried to bring a more full look going into USA's with a different judging panel. And it just didn't translate. So I think the judges prefer my body type as a more lean look. And I went from like 130 pounds at North Americans to like 133, 134 pounds at USA's. So it's only about a 4-pound difference, but that was enough to make me look like I was not in a good spot there. Like, I looked a lot softer compared to like the physique that I had brought only a few months prior.
Right. Well, it does seem, and it's hard to say because every year seems to be a little bit different, especially in divisions like bikini that are, it seems like the girls are so close, especially at those, like at certain higher levels.
Yeah.
So the judges are always like, it seems to me like they're going for a harder look, but then again, it's like depends what show you hit. We're essentially judging everything from the Olympia, right? Like you look at who wins, and then you kind of try to model yourself after that because that's who most people think the judges are looking for. But but since it's so fluid, it's tough. It's tough to pick
really
the right
hard.
condition. So
it's that's one of the hardest things about bikini is that I've learned is that it doesn't really matter what you look like. Like, it really doesn't. Like, sometimes you might get rewarded for a look that you don't even like. Like, I don't necessarily like to see myself super, super shredded, hard, lean. Like, I think I looked really good for like photo shoots and stuff like that for USA's, even though that did not get like rewarded. Like, I felt more comfortable at that body weight, but for the judges, they might have preferred you leaner or harder. So it's just so hard because it's subjective to the day who you're competing against, who the judges are. So you could bring the improvements that you were asked of the prior show, but if the judging panel is different and the competitors that you're against that day show up different, like, it doesn't necessarily matter what improvements you worked on. You just have to keep trying and tweaking things until you get lucky and you get it right.
Right. Yeah. There's a part of that is just, how fortunate you are with the lineup and everything. I mean, it goes to show because I don't think anybody really switches Olympia champs like bikini does. It seems like it's very difficult to get a couple in a row. I think what Ashley has, Caldwell has the most, right? With 3. And that's not that many when you consider other divisions. So it definitely shows the fluidity of the division. Did you, how do you feel about that? The fact that that sometimes you get rewarded for looks that you don't particularly like. Like, do you think about that going in? Do you say, well, I'm going to adjust myself for, to be rewarded? Or do you just bring in the best look that you think, you look in and then just see kind of where the dominoes fall?
Okay. So this is like going to be between me and my coach. So like, I really trust my coach's vision for where he wants to take my physique. And it's what's going to look best on my frame and structure. So it's not like a look that we're going for. We're not trying to ever try to look like like we're trying to look like an Olympian, but if that makes sense, we're not trying to look like them, because it's not going to necessarily work for my body, because we're all different. So we just are going to keep tweaking. So like taking the judges' feedback seriously. And sometimes the judges don't necessarily know what they're asking for. Sometimes, you know, like they don't know you. So they're seeing you for 2 minutes. They don't see you for your whole prep. So sometimes they might be asking for feedback that you can tweak in different ways. So I always am going to try, like this next year, I'm going to try to show up the leanest I've ever been, because I would rather start my season being extremely lean and almost too lean and too hard, and then fill back up, rather than not being conditioned enough and try to keep cutting down.
Yeah. I mean, that does make sense, because, you know, if you're already lean, it would be easier to fill out than it would. But I mean, if you're not at the proper condition, there's nothing you really can do in those last moments. I was looking at your Instagram here. I'm going to share it. I don't know if you can see it, but so this right here, you posted just recently. What look was this? I know you said sometimes you were at 136, and then I forgot the weights you mentioned, but
I think this was probably like 133, 134 on show day. This is from USA. So that package was what we would consider what I look like on stage, soft. So like you can see, just everything looks like there's not hard lines, like between my like delt and shoulder caps, like there's not like a hard pop. Like I don't have my abs, like you can't really see the definitions of my abs, and like that quad sweep's not as deep. So this is what a soft Savannah looks like. Like I think hair and makeup wise and like posing wise, I nailed it. But yeah, so that video that's right under it, that is North American. So that was the leanest I had ever been. And that's when my conditioning and abs were just a lot different. So it's a lot harder shape. I still didn't have the muscle maturity and enough muscle to like for what the judges want. Like I don't, they're looking for balance. And for me personally, like my front pose, I feel like I look like a pro, but then I was missing the balance from the back. So I still have to work on developing my glutes and hamstrings as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough thing to do. You really have to dial it in depending on, you know, like we said, the show, the lineup, and picking the right shows, right? Like a part of it is also just making sure that you pick the correct shows with the right condition. So, so just to kind of backtrack, how did you get into competing in general? Like you know, it's not necessarily, it's a very niche, you know, sport. It's not mainstream. Was there somebody that kind of moved you towards this desire?
Yeah, so it's a couple of reasons. So when I first heard about it, I was bartending, and I worked with a coworker who was telling us about how she was doing this bikini competition thing. And that was the first time that I had heard about what it was. So I thought it was like a beauty pageant. And I was working with her. So I progressively saw her losing weight and like getting leaner and leaner and leaner. And I just remember one day she brought her competition suit with her and like shows us this like sparkly bikini. And I'm like, what is that? And, you know, I remember having the thoughts of like, oh my gosh, that's great. Good for you. But I would never do that. Like, I would never do that. That's great. So, you know, I started the investigation process of like, what is this? So I started to like research, and I kind of found like the OGs. This was like 2016-ish. So I was like, that's like the Ashley Coltwasser, Casey Stamsel, Taylor Eubanks McCoy, like all of the like OGs, like Angelica. I looked at all of them, and I just remember thinking like, holy cow, like these girls are insane. I'd never seen a body type that was like that athletic. And I'm like, this is probably something that is attainable. I was like, you can build this. Like, cause I was looking at their before and after pictures, and a lot of their before pictures kind of resembled what I looked like. And like, that just looks like their before pictures, like, that's what I look like. I'm like, how did they get there? And in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that one day. But at the time, I'm like, stage fright, I could never do it. That just is something different. And so I actually had a traumatic incident happen in my family. So I lost my younger brother. He passed away before I started my fitness journey. And it was very hard, but it was the push that I needed to get to want to do something that was outside of my comfort zone. Like I really wanted to do something to inspire people to focus on health and fitness, just to be, a better for myself, just to focus on like mental health. And that for me, it was like, what makes sense was a bikini competition. I don't know how I put that together, but I knew that I had seen these athletes would grow these platforms and they would share like all their knowledge and their transformation. It was so inspiring that it could inspire others. So I really wanted to like use health and fitness as a platform, like before my journey even started, to inspire others and like kind of to help get through personal grief that I was struggling with. So I started to reach out to, I just put it on my Facebook page. It was like, I just said it. I was like, I'm doing a bikini competition. I really want to do this. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I need someone to help me coach, or like recommended like a coach. I know that you needed a coach, and I got recommended someone local. And then we started training. I paid up front an entire prep and was just like, I need to have the money down. So that way I'm going to stay committed to it. If it's already paid for, I can't back it down. I signed up for a show in January of 2017, ended up competing in May. So we prepped from January of 2017 and got on stage for the first time in May 2017. And that was my first competition.
Wow. That's well, first of all, condolences to your loss. I know that was a little while ago, but that's always a tough thing to do, to lose a family member, especially a sibling, somebody that's that close. And you're absolutely right. Like health and mental health is extremely important, especially in the times that we live in. More and more, our minds are being attacked, even more so than sometimes, your bodies. You hear of all kinds of people that are having like a lot of mental problems. And even if you don't have necessarily something like extremely serious, like where it's, it gets to a very like high level, all of us are like mentally struggling, especially with COVID happening. It was even more intensified, for people that are already might have been, having trouble as it is. So yeah, that's one thing about social media that is a positive. Of course, it depends on, how people use it, but it does allow you a platform where otherwise you would have a very difficult time to get one, to be able to share your experiences with others, and then you can, help others with their struggle. That's amazing. If you really think about it, sometimes people think like, oh, there's a lot of fitness people like in the fitness industry, and it might seem that way, but in reality, when you're talking about like the population is concerned, it's like people that work out are like almost like 1% or less, and then people that actually work out like on your level are even less than that. So it's like it's not as much as people think. Health is not a priority in the general public, which is sad.
It is sad. And it's sad too, that something that I've been running into lately is just like people are starting to like do fit shaming, where you're like, they're like making fun of people for being in shape and working out and like being in tune with their diet, which is just, it's heartbreaking to me that others have to put their insecurities about their own diet on someone that's like taking it serious. And I never ever try to push what I'm doing on others. I never try to talk about it. I don't think I'm better than anyone because I live this way. It's just I want to live healthy and I want to live for a long time. So I know that like in order to do so, I need to eat healthy and I need to exercise and move. So that way I can be around for a long time too.
Right. I definitely think it's like all or nothing, right? I just saw a video on Instagram not that long ago about and then it was just meant to be funny, but this guy was eating a pizza in front of a gym window where people were working out, trying to, I don't know, be funny or whatever the case may be. But I think people have that mentality. They're like, well, either you're super fit or you eat everything and anything in sight. And it's like that, there's like a balance there, right? There's a balance. You can work out, you can be fit, and you can watch what you eat. And it's not a negative. Like, sometimes I'll have people say things to me like, oh, well, I don't want to like hurt myself by not allowing myself to eat whatever I want. And it's like, and the way I look at it is like, I get to do that. Like, I enjoy watching what I eat because I know it's healthy, and there's an enjoyment process for me. And the way they view it is like restrictive. They think I'm restricting myself, but I'm not. It's yeah, it's hard to explain, right? Like how would you, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so sometimes just people put their own insecurities on us. I think as bodybuilders, we hear it a lot of like, oh, you can have a bite, or like, can't you just have like one, or whatever it is, or I don't even know. There's sometimes it's just like, I don't ever pay attention or care about what other people eat. Like I could care less what you eat. Like I don't care. Eat a Twinkie or a Snickers or whatever. And I promise you, I'm never judging you ever, 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 ever. Like, I don't know if you're eating a Snickers, this is your cheat day. I don't know that. I don't know if like you worked out for 3 hours before whatever you're consuming. Like, I don't know anything about people. And so like, it's just, I don't know. I just, sometimes people just, I don't know, use like meal prepping as like an invitation to comment. And I don't really let it get to me, but I know that body fat and body image issues runs deep for everyone. And I don't care what anyone says, like everyone has some type of, I wish this was that, or I wish I looked like him or her, and different things like that too. And so I think it's hard to see, like, what I notice is like a lot of bodybuilders are not very confident, but they do struggle with body images, but we like to post our physiques, and that's not something that every average day person does. Like the average person does not post check-in pictures. Like they're not just like, here's me, and we're doing that. And it's not a, I want to show it off and like get all the likes in the comments. It's like, I worked really freaking hard. It's like, you've seen my before pictures. I did not look like this. And so whenever I'm posting about different things like that, I always use it as like an inspiration tool. And a lot of times I post content that I want to consume for myself. Like a lot of times if I'm feeling like crap, I'll post something that's motivational to help myself, because, I don't ever like to say negative, or I don't like to do anything. I like to make prep fun. Like fitness can be fun. I like to show it off that it is like, it's great and I feel good. And so I always want to, post as much as I can to help others who do struggle with body image issues. Because if like one person can see our podcast, or something that we say, or a picture, and be like, oh my gosh, like I think I would like to eat a little bit healthier today or something, like that's great. That's all that I'm asking for, is just a little bit of effort, and that's really it.
Yeah, well, that's all about your goals, right? Like if your goal is not to, if you have no interest in being healthy, then then don't. I mean, that's but if you do, then by all means, listen to this show, go watch your videos, get some inspiration, get some thoughts on it. Yeah, I found the whole like shaming thing, it's people get very tribal, because I remember I was talking to my wife fairly recently, last couple of months, and we were talking about Adele, the singer, and how when she lost all that weight, people became upset with her. Like there was a good chunk of people that were upset that she lost weight. And it's like, how insane, the thought process.
It's sad. Like, it's really sad to me. Like, I remember saying that and I was like, dang girl, look at you, like get you some, like, that's amazing. She's like, she probably feels so incredible. And then getting that like weird shame hate of like, whatever. It's like, let everyone do whatever they want with their bodies. Like whatever that is for them. If you want to eat however you want to eat, like do it, but just don't judge anyone for their decisions.
Right. It was almost like she stepped out of that tribe, right? Like when she was heavier, they were, she was part of this like tribe of people that, thought that way, that weren't concerned with health. At least they included her in it. And when she lost that weight, it was like, oh, well, you're not part of our tribe anymore. So now, you have to shame you for that. And it was such a crazy thing. But I thought it was amazing that she was able to do that. That was, that was incredible. And as far as like posting, with regard to bodybuilding, it is unique, right? Because bodybuilding, the sport itself is your body, right? Like hence bodybuilding. So unlike maybe like someone in MMA who like posts them, getting a takedown or a punch, or someone in basketball who's, makes a shot, we we post of our physiques because that's the sport. So it does get kind of strange for people that don't understand that. It's like,
because I mean that they think, you're posting your ass and titties online.
Right.
That's what they see. They see, oh my gosh, like, wow, like, oh, I can never, or whatever. They're seeing it as like the sexualized sport, especially bikini.
Right.
Especially bikini, like, because that's what they associate a girl in a bikini is something that, I don't know. It's something that it's not, but that's not how I feel about it at all. I think at one point when I didn't know, I'm like, okay, yeah, these girls are just like whores pushing themselves out there. Like I really did. I'm like, they're just trying to, put all their social media pictures out there. And it's not, like, you guys have no idea how hard it is to diet and train year round for years and go years without cheat meals. Like that is dedication. It is hard. And so I completely understand it now.
Yeah, it's definitely a mental task, much more probably so than the physical one. I think wellness is kind of getting that now too. Now with them coming into, the sport, there's a lot of support for them, of course, but then there's always those that are like, well, this is basically, like you said, is just an excuse to show your body off. So, but I don't think there's a way around that. It's just going to be one of those things. It's always going to be a niche sport. I don't think it's ever going to be like per se mainstream. So, maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see.
I do think you're wrong, because I think it is so intriguing that I eventually see my goals for this sport of bodybuilding is to see it on ESPN. Like that's what I would like to have, of like being so mainstream that we don't have to do like the online streaming services of like I could turn on the TV and you see like ESPN's covering all the bodybuilding shows live. Like that's where I see like the Olympia going. Maybe, but
I see the Olympia possibly going there because it's the biggest show of the year. That's definitely a possibility for sure, especially now the shows are getting better with the new ownership and Jake Wood and everything like that. So I do definitely see that happening, as far as maybe the Arnold, because Arnold's involved, but that's possible. I see where you're coming from there. So, what about now as far as your endeavors for, where are we going, at this point?
Right now, okay, we're getting our pro card. So that is the ultimate goal, is to get an IFBB pro card. And so I will be starting my official prep January 1st of 2022. Or targeting, I have to requalify for nationals. So I have to do a regional show in place, depending on the rules, if they change back because of COVID. So I'll have to get either top 2 or top 5 at a local regional show that's a national qualifier. And then I'm going to hit every national show starting in May is my plan, pending the judges' feedback. So depending on how I do, depending on how that goes, if they say, you're too small, or if I need more off season, then always going on the judges' feedback. But I'm planning to pretty much hit every national show until I go pro, hopefully.
And the national shows are what, the top 2 usually get pro, or is it top 1?
Some of them are different. So some of them it is top 2, like bigger pros or bigger pro qualifiers. So it'd be either top 2, top 1, or sometimes it's usually top 3 or top 4 overall.
Okay.
So you'd have to win your class, and then you'd have to almost get top 3 of the whole show.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely doable, especially if you hit multiple shows, that's even increases your chances of getting that. So for sure. Have you thought about like doing any kind of training or yourself, or are you involved in any of that?
What do you mean?
As far as training others, I'm sorry.
Oh, like coaching?
Yes.
Okay. So this is an interesting topic. So I tried to do a little bit of coaching on my own. I don't have the education or background, but I just had been doing it for 4 years. And I'm like, I think I want to start coaching. So I took like 3 clients under my wing, and I kind of tried it to see if I liked it. And I liked it, but I wasn't that good at it. And it was taking it stressed me out so much that I couldn't do it anymore. So I kind of stopped that for a little while. I might eventually go back to it, but in a different format. So I think I would rather post workout programs that you can buy that I don't have to coach you on.
I see.
I would rather do that to get to more people faster than spending so much time with one athlete. just because I want to expand my reach and my time is limited because I do work a full-time job. Plus I have podcasts and YouTube, and that takes a lot of my time. And I also am prepping all the time. So
Yeah.
like my time is limited to what I can do. And it started to become like a full-time job. And, I would stress out because I would always question myself because I didn't have the educational background when I was making program changes. I just didn't want anyone to have a bad relation with food because of a program that I was putting out there. And I didn't want them not to see results. So I would make changes to the program and just really like question if that was the right decision. So for me personally, that's not something that I'm looking to do right now, but I do want to get into posing because posing is something that I really enjoy and it's really fun for me. And I think I'm pretty good at posing and I practice a lot. And I think there's a lot that I can teach others. So I'd like to become a posing coach, but I know that in order to do well as a posing coach, you kind of do need to have, your pro card as before you like gain
It helps.
credibility.
Yeah.
It does help. Yeah.
It helps. And posing is huge now. Like a lot of the girls that I talk to, they strictly do posing. If they do coaching, like they do strictly posing. Or that's like the biggest part of their business because, let's be honest. I mean, you can have a great physique and screw up the posing and not place well. So that happens all the time. So it's extremely important. And so I think more and more people excuse me, are realizing that posing is where it's at. So
posing is everything, especially in bikini. I mean, in every
division,
every
division, it's like that because you have to show off your physique, and it's like if your posing is off, you can really screw yourself over. And it's like that's how you get people that show their physique and like off the stage, and they look incredible, like they're going to win the show, and then the day of the show or when they step on stage they don't. And it's like sometimes that comes from just not being able to display your physique as well as you could.
Exactly.
Have you to pivot off the division conversation, have you thought about like different divisions? I mean, I know there's a structure is always like something that you think about when you choose a division that you compete in, but have you thought about figure or anything like that
I thought about it and it's a hard no for me. It's hard to put on muscle. Oh my gosh, I've been trying. It's just not something that I think I can attain, especially like the next step for me would be either figure or wellness. And I'm still trying to build bikini glutes. So until I can build bikini glutes, there's no plan for wellness. And I don't actually my upper body probably would do well in figure, but I'm a taller athlete. So I think my structure and aesthetics would look best for bikini because that's what I like. It's very marketable. It's a very easy, it's not easy, but it's a more commercialized look that can translate after you're done competing too into general health and fitness, where figure and wellness, it's really hard. And I think it would be harder for me to live like, I don't want to have that much muscle on my frame in my off season.
Yeah, no, wellness, especially with the amount of muscle they have on their legs, it's a really incredible. What did you think when they brought that wellness into IFBB? Did you people initially had different views on it? I think now it's kind of like settled down, but what was your opinion when they brought it in?
I think it's really exciting. So seeing more divisions, that means anything can happen, really. So it's just anything can happen. Like they can always create new divisions as it's gaining more interest. I think this gives so much opportunity for athletes that were struggling in bikini to keep like their legs down, which is a huge concern, especially if genetically you're built with just like more muscle in your lower half. Like this division, I'm obsessed with wellness. I love it. I love their physiques. I love their posing. I love that it's just like, they look like superheroes because if it's larger than life, it's like so insane to see someone have that much muscle on their lower half. I think it's a very cool division. And I think a lot of girls' body types, the majority of them are going to fit more with like the wellness physique rather than bikini. So it gives so many opportunities for girls like that were ex soccer players or quad dominant, like track athletes, different things like that, to step into this sport and do really well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing, right? Is that a lot of athletes that don't have an opportunity to compete in their original sport, like you said, soccer, maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe they got an injury. Sometimes that happens. And they move into like bodybuilding. If they don't have the build for bikini, how are you, or figure, where are they going to go? Because, what's the other step? It's like they don't want to go women's physique or bodybuilding sometimes. So wellness is a great opportunity for that. Did you get a chance to see the Wellness Olympia?
Yeah, so I got to see her in pose in person because I was actually at the Olympia this
Oh,
year.
awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the way that she posed, I've never seen someone pose like her before. She brought a lot of different moves. Like she was doing some like WBFF style with like the over the hand, which is something like in bikini, I've never seen in the IFBB someone do, like posing with like their hands like over their head. And she did like a signature like little look back. Like, so it was really exciting because she's the first Mrs. Wellness Olympia. So it was exciting to see what posing that she is going to bring to the division and to see how that's going to affect bikini. Because this new division of wellness is how it affects bikini is a little bit different. Their suits are a little bit different. Their posing style is a little bit different. So just like a slight differences, it's kind of making bikini like push its posing limits because they're different. Like wellness does quarter turns, whereas bikini, you can kind of like hide your flaws. But I feel like the posing is getting we're getting a lot more stage time in bikini now.
Yeah. I definitely think there's some things that can be changed about posing in certain divisions. Like I don't think that some, like, how can I put this? I think some divisions would benefit from like maybe even more time, like a routine round or something different, or not as standardized. I mean, I know has to be some standardized looks, but the ability to give an athlete time to show themselves as best that they can in any position, or that they can. But I definitely see where you're coming from. I was a little surprised that Yarishna didn't do as well as I thought she would have, just because she was kind of had that momentum going. But who knows? I mean, this is the first time we're having an Olympia in wellness, so there's going to be some some settling the next few years.
And I think it's going to be similar to bikini too, because when I looked at, there was a little bit of like imbalances from like upper to lower, which I think that's what maybe she went with like a really solid lower half, but like the upper body wise, the current wellness Olympian, like she still looked balanced.
Yeah. Franchella.
Yeah. She still looked balanced overall, and like her posing beat everyone. Her posing, hands down, her hair, makeup, look, everything. She beat everyone. So I'm not sure what they're looking for. So it'll be interesting to see what changes she makes.
Yeah. It will be interesting to like. I always like the initial development of divisions, because you get to see like changes more in real time. As the divisions get more solidified, like the changes are more minor. So it gets a little different. Well, Savannah, I know you got a busy schedule, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate you coming on. As we talked about, you have a podcast, you have YouTube channels. I'm going to go ahead and link that all below. So guys, go ahead and check her stuff out. Is there anything else that you want to plug in? I know you don't particularly coach. What if somebody wanted to reach out for you for like more podcasts or anything else? How would you do that?
So just I'm really active on Instagram. So it's at @savsharp_. You can always reach out to me to DM. If you're interested about talking about this episode, you can tag us if you're listening on your IG stories. For podcasting, if you're looking for opportunities for a podcast or YouTube, just go ahead and DM me on Instagram. That's the best place to get a hold of me. If you want to pose with me as well, go ahead and DM me and we'll get you set up.
Awesome. Well, great, Savannah. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.